All right, so you're here with us because you want to, cut through all the noise and like figure out how to build a wellness routine that actually sticks. One that actually becomes part of your life, not just another like to-do list item.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
And that's exactly what we are going to dive into today. We're looking at creating a sustainable wellness routine, and we've got some really interesting stuff pulled from pasted text.
Yeah, it offers some really grounded perspectives on, building healthy habits that last.
Exactly. And our mission here today is to extract the practical stuff, the manageable stuff, the stuff you can actually use to build a routine that worked for you without feeling like you're suddenly living in, a wellness magazine or something.
Right.
So, okay, the first thing that jumped out at me from the material was this idea that wellness isn't just about like one thing.
Yeah, that's a really fundamental point. A lot of times people think about wellness as just, hitting the gym or, eating salads.
Right.
But the source material makes it clear that true wellness is holistic. It's about looking at the whole picture, not just, one single brushstroke.
I love that analogy. And the source actually breaks it down into these key dimensions.
Oh,
Physical, mental, emotional, nutritional, the strength of your social connections, and even personal growth.
it's amazing, isn't it? How
Yeah.
all of these things are deeply intertwined.
It really is. It's like knocking over one domino can kind of affect all the others. So thinking about that, what's one area in your own life right now that maybe feels a little neglected?
Ooh, that is a good question. It's a powerful question to consider. And it's important because a truly sustainable approach,
Hmm.
requires us to nurture all of those areas. You might be crushing it, in your workouts,
Yeah.
but if you're constantly feeling overwhelmed and disconnected, that foundation might not be as solid as it seems.
One of the things that was so fascinating to me in the text was how it talked about how prolonged social isolation can actually have physiological effects, like impacting your immune system in ways that are similar to chronic stress.
It's really wild how interconnected all these things are.
Absolutely. And it really does shift the perspective on, just how important those social connections are. So now, once we start thinking about this bigger picture, the next step is often turning those broad ideas into actual steps. And this is where so many well-intentioned efforts kind of fall apart. The goals just feel so monumental.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
The source material really nails this. It points out that trap of setting these huge, sweeping wellness resolutions
Right.
that are almost impossible to maintain.
Yeah, it's like setting yourself up for failure almost.
Exactly. And instead, it champions the power of realistic and crucially achievable goals.
Okay.
And it introduces this framework I think is incredibly useful for bringing that down to earth, the SMART goal system.
Right. Smart. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It sounds almost too simple. But you apply it, and it's like a light bulb goes on. So, for example, instead of saying, I want to get in shape, the source suggests something like, I will walk for 30 minutes every day after work.
Right.
So that's specific. It's measurable, 30 minutes. Achievable for most people. Relevant to fitness.
Uh-huh.
And you could even add, a time-bound element like for the next month.
Exactly. And the source goes on to provide other really clear examples, like instead of this vague desire to eat healthier, you set a SMART goal, like I will drink 8 glasses of water every day this week.
Perfect.
Or, for someone wanting to improve their mental well-being, instead of, I should meditate more,
Yeah.
they might aim to meditate for 10 minutes before bed 3 times this week.
Love it.
It breaks down these big ideas into manageable actions,
Yeah.
and it immediately makes them feel so much less daunting.
So much less daunting. And I think the emphasis in the source on starting small is so key. It's like dipping your toe in the water instead of, diving headfirst into the deep end.
Totally.
And then also reassessing regularly is important. Our lives and our needs are constantly changing.
Right.
So our goals need to be able to evolve too. It's not about, rigid perfection from day one.
No, it's about building momentum
Yeah.
and finding what truly integrates into your life.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about action. One of the cornerstones of many wellness routines is physical activity.
Yeah.
And for some people, that word alone can conjure up these images of like grueling workouts that they just dread.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
But what I found so encouraging in the source material is this emphasis on finding movement that you actually enjoy and that you can see yourself doing consistently. It's not about suffering through something you hate just because you think you should.
I think that's such a crucial mindset shift. The text lists a really diverse range of possibilities, from the more traditional like walking, jogging, strength training,
Sure.
to practices like yoga and stretching that focus on flexibility,
Right.
and even things like group fitness classes or dancing or sports that bring in that social and fun element.
Yeah. I love that.
And what I found interesting is that the source even highlights that even short bursts of activity like 10-minute walks or a quick stretching routine can contribute significantly to your overall health.
That's so good to hear because it doesn't have to be, an hour-long ordeal at the gym.
No.
It really takes away that all or nothing pressure. It's about finding those little windows in your day to move your body in a way that feels good. So I'm curious, thinking back to when you were a kid, what kind of physical activity did you genuinely enjoy? Sometimes tapping into those old preferences can reignite that sense of fun around movement.
That is such a good point. Rekindling that intrinsic motivation is far more sustainable than relying solely on willpower.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another essential piece of the wellness puzzle. Nutrition. This is an area where I think a lot of us have complex relationships. We're often feeling bombarded with conflicting information and, the pressure to restrict.
Absolutely. And what I appreciated in our source material is that it focuses on a balanced and adaptable approach to eating
Yes.
rather than rigid rules and deprivation.
Right.
It's about fueling your body, effectively not punishing it.
I love that.
And the text really emphasizes the importance of prioritizing whole foods.
Yeah.
The fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains as the foundation of your diet. And it also highlights the often underestimated role of hydration. But beyond just what you eat, the source also touches on how you eat, bringing up the concept of mindful eating,
Right.
really paying attention to your body's hunger and fullness cues.
I think that's so important. And also the practical aspect of meal planning. The source talks about that too. It takes away some of that decision fatigue during the week and makes it easier to make those healthier choices.
Absolutely.
And, I was relieved to see the idea of moderation emphasized
Yeah.
too. It's not about, completely banning your favorite treats, but it's about finding a healthy balance. So those indulgences don't derail your overall goals. It's about building a sustainable lifestyle, not just following a diet trend.
Right. It's about fostering a healthy and enjoyable relationship with food, one that's not based on restriction and guilt.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about, moving our bodies and nourishing them well, but what about what's going on inside our heads? Our mental and emotional well-being is absolutely foundational to any lasting wellness routine.
It really is. And the source material highlights the toll that chronic stress can take, not just on our mental state, but on our ability to stick with any kind of healthy habits at all.
Right. It's like trying to build a house on shaky ground.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the material offers some really practical and accessible stress management techniques. Things like incorporating even short periods of meditation and mindfulness into your day can make a significant difference in your overall stress levels. And even something as simple as focusing on your breath, doing some breathing exercises can be incredibly powerful in managing immediate feelings of anxiety.
Absolutely. The source also talks about journaling, which is a valuable tool for self-reflection and processing emotions. And of course, we can't overlook the importance of quality sleep. The source even mentions, limiting screen time before bed, which, let's be honest, we all probably need a reminder about that.
Yeah.
And finally, recognizing when you might need extra support. Reaching out to friends, family, or a professional, that's a sign of strength, not weakness.
It is. It's about recognizing that our mental health is not separate from our physical health. It's an integral part of the same system. And taking proactive steps to nurture it is absolutely essential for long-term well-being.
Okay, so shifting gears slightly, sometimes we think of wellness as this very individual pursuit, but the source material also sheds light on the vital role of our connections with others.
Our social interactions have a profound impact on our overall happiness and health. We are wired for connection as humans.
Totally. And the source suggests some really tangible ways to strengthen those bonds, from intentionally spending quality time with the people we care about to actively participating in communities or even engaging in volunteer work. And I thought it was insightful how the source also touched on the importance of setting healthy boundaries in our relationships. Protecting our mental and emotional energy is a crucial form of self-care that directly supports our wellness.
Right. It's not selfish to have boundaries. It's actually essential.
It is. And the simple act of practicing gratitude, Consciously appreciating the people in our lives can not only strengthen those relationships, but it can also boost our own sense of well-being.
Totally.
It reinforces that having a supportive network around you makes building a sustainable routine so much easier. You're not on an island.
You're not. And that sense of belonging and support can provide incredible motivation and accountability. And it certainly makes the journey a lot more enjoyable.
So much more enjoyable. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're coming to a concept that sometimes gets a bad rap. It's often seen as a luxury rather than a necessity.
Now we're going to say self-care.
Self-care. But as our source rightly points out, self-care is absolutely essential, not selfish. It's about recharging your batteries so you have the energy and the resilience to maintain all those other healthy habits you're working on.
It's like filling up your own cup so you can pour from it into others. And the text offers a wonderful range of examples of these rejuvenating activities. It could be as simple as dedicating time to reading a book you enjoy or pursuing a creative hobby that relaxes you, indulging in a little skincare or just consciously listening to music or a podcast that lifts your spirits. Even intentionally taking breaks from our screens throughout the day can be a powerful act of self-care.
Absolutely. It's about identifying those activities that help you feel refreshed, both mentally and physically. So what truly helps you unwind and recharge, those are the things you need to intentionally weave into your routine.
Exactly. It's not just something you do when you have extra time. It's a proactive investment in your overall well-being that helps prevent burnout in the long run.
Okay, so we looked at all these different facets of wellness. The big question is, how do you actually take all this information and weave it into a routine that fits your unique life?
Right, because we're all different. We all have different schedules and different needs.
We do. And that's where the source offers some really practical, actionable advice.
Yeah, I like it.
So the first point they emphasize is to start small.
Okay.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Introduce one new healthy habit at a time and let it become a comfortable part of your routine before you add another one.
That's such crucial advice. Trying to implement too many changes at once is a surefire recipe for feeling overwhelmed and eventually giving up.
Totally. The source also stresses the importance of being flexible. Life inevitably throws curveballs, and your routine needs to be able to bend without breaking.
I love that. Bend without breaking.
And tracking your progress, whether it's through a simple journal entry or using a wellness app, can be incredibly motivating.
Oh, yeah. It's so satisfying to see how far you've come.
It is. It allows you to see how far you've come and helps you identify what's working well and what might need some tweaking. And I really appreciated the reminder in the source to celebrate your wins, no matter how small they might seem.
Right. Sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, we forget to acknowledge our accomplishments.
Exactly. And finally, the source highlights the importance of being willing to adjust your routine as needed. Your needs and circumstances will evolve over time, and your wellness plan should be able to adapt with you.
It's a continuous process of learning and refinement.
Exactly. It's really about integrating these practices into the fabric of your daily life.
Yes.
Finding a rhythm that works for you so it becomes, a sustainable and enjoyable part of your everyday. It's building a lifestyle, not just following a set of rules.
You got it. It's about finding your own unique formula for well-being.
Absolutely. So as we bring this deep dive to a close, it's clear that creating a sustainable wellness routine isn't about some dramatic transformation. It's a continuous journey built on small, consistent steps that address the interconnectedness of our physical, mental, emotional, social, and personal well-being.
We've explored all those key principles from the source material. Adopting a holistic perspective, setting realistic, smart goals, discovering enjoyable ways to move your body, viewing nutrition as nourishment, prioritizing your mental and emotional health, nurturing your social connections, and recognizing self-care as this vital component.
In considering how deeply intertwined all these aspects of wellness truly are, here's a final thought for you. What is one small, enjoyable change, just one tiny step that you could realistically make today that might have a ripple effect across multiple areas of your well-being? Just something to ponder.
It could be as simple as, taking 5 minutes for a mindful breathing exercise, choosing a slightly healthier option for your next snack, or sending a quick text to a friend you haven't connected with in a while. Often it's those small, seemingly insignificant actions that build momentum and lead to lasting change.
So true. Well, thanks so much for taking this deep dive into building a sustainable wellness routine with us. We hope it's given you some practical ideas that you can start using today. Until our next exploration.
Bye!